Thanks, everyone. Okay. Thanks. I hope your drinks are charged up. I hope you're trying the African secret cocktails that we have here today as well. I'm really excited to get into our next interview. And I think our conversation about Reiki and wellness also led us into the space quite seamlessly. We're here with Tiffany Lekuku, who is the founder and CEO of Neurohouse, which is an inclusive wellness brand that has many different offerings, but that's also presenting different ways to enter the space of well-being and cosmology. If you were to describe what Neurohouse does to someone, how would you do it?
I think I have positioned or tried to position Nuru as a wellness center or like space, community.
Sorry, we're just trying to get the mics right. Just lift the mic slightly.
Perfect. Sorry.
No worries.
So yes, as I was saying, I think I've been trying to position Nuru House as a wellness, well-being community. I was so intentional with using house in the name because I would love for people to feel at home, you know, coming to yourself. One of our mottos is, well, our main motto is rediscover well-being. And the reason for well-being is it encapsulates spirituality and spiritual well-being and our health. And, you know, during COVID times when I actually founded the brand, I really felt that that was an area that was lacking and missing for a lot of people. I think we can all agree that we were going through so much loss, so many changes. And I really felt that people were asking so many questions about their existence and where to from there, like where to from here, and the way life was before and the way it is now is so different. And I saw such a massive shift, and with that there was like a yearning I felt for people to be like, okay, so what do we do with all of this newfound consciousness that we are tapping into? Where do we go? And I've always been into wellness, and I really felt like, okay, this is what I should be doing. This is what I should be creating, and also making it palatable, for a lack of a better word, through the content that we create, through the experiences that we, you know, have with Nuru. So it really is that coming home to yourself. And I think I'm so big as well on letting people discover it for themselves. You know, rediscover well-being is rediscovering spirituality for yourself, because it's such an individual journey. And, you know, we all are always like, yeah, we know the wellness community, we know how to eat well, live well, exercise, but spiritual well-being and health is so personal. And you just come as you are, and we hold space for that, whatever journey you're taking with that.
I think there's such an important message in your motto, which is not, you know, discover well-being or enter well-being, but this idea of rediscovering well-being holds this message that you know what it is, or you're connected to what it is, whether it's via ancestry or via lineage, that this is something that you're returning to rather than a new space that you're entering.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's a massive emphasis for me with that is I draw so much inspiration and wisdom and knowledge from the people that came before us. You know, it's such a big thing for me, even in the modalities that I use, the sound bars being the big thing that people now know us for. You know, sound has been there from the beginning of time. You know, and it's not a new thing that I'm doing. It's, again, rediscovering things that have been accessible to us and presenting it to people in a way that they maybe not have thought about in the past. You know, and as someone that has struggled with mental health issues and anxiety and depression and all of that stuff, I was like, okay, what else can I do besides taking medication? And you know, what is the holistic way of approaching this? You know, and I love the soundbars that we do because it really taps into the healing power of frequency and sound. You know, at its like fine level of, you know, the soundballs that we use. You know, because sound is all around us. In music, it's healing, but it's powerful and so interesting to see how people experience the soundbars in the sessions. Yeah.
I think when you founded this space, this community, you founded it in COVID times in 2020, which I think was a time of multiple different things existing at the same time. But one of those things were we were confronted with a health pandemic,
Yeah.
and with the fact that we had to keep mentally healthy, that we were trying to find some kind of centering with in a very unprecedented time. And I think that we all thought that, okay, some of the lessons that we learned in that time were going to transcend into the time after. And I don't know if it's a more globalized experience, but one of the experiences that I have is that it feels like rather than enter a new moment with lessons, we entered it and we doubled down on the things before, and then we added the stresses of that time as well, like Zooms,
Yeah.
just constant Zooms, or working beyond. So the kind of things that we implemented in order to make work life sustainable or manageable in that time feels like they added to the challenges of work.
Yeah.
Have you found that with Nuru? And if so, how are you trying to think through or think with that?
So, what I always say in my sessions with everyone is I think we always think wellness is something that we have to carve out massive time for. But if you realize that, a walk is meditation, choosing to carve out 5 minutes, it's meditation. It's being very intentional, and it's not something that you have to make a full 180 shift with your life, but really settling into certain practices or implementing certain things to really ground yourself. Like to your point of saying that we had like the slowdown, and then when COVID finished, we went back, but then it was like with 10 times more stress. And and I think what I try to do with my community is always empowering them with the tools that it doesn't have to be this life-changing, daunting shift that you have to make. You can start so small, because someone will be like, oh, but I don't know how to meditate, I don't know how to be still. And I think why I also love the sound bots is because we always feel like we constantly have to be doing to be productive, and with the sound bots you're just being still, you're just laying on the ground, like absorbing and experiencing the sound, and that is productive. Rest is productive, and we sometimes forget that. And I think for for anyone in any industry, I think with rest you are able to produce so much more efficiently. For creatives, for everyone in any different type of like industry, you're more, I don't know, productive in that sense. So I love that the soundbots is kind of what we're leading with, because it is also implementing in the fact that rest is productive, that you can do less and you're somehow doing more, because you're tending to yourself inward as well. Yeah,
And
so I don't know if that answers your question.
You did answer my question, but I think as a creative, you've also you've been through, or like maybe been as disciplinary as I spoke to Khala before about that kind of work. Whether it be writing work or whether it be work in blogging, and now with Nuru. What do you find are the kind of lessons that you take from everything before when working on Nuru?
No, it's crazy how alignment and purpose works, because I've gone from, my first thing that I actually did was I was a contributing writer for a blog like in 2015, and I've always been into like lifestyle, holistic living. So I learned skills from that, and then I moved into advertising and I was like a digital content manager. So all of those like lessons have really helped with me being able to run the business. It's incredible, because I would always be like in certain jobs and be like, what is this going to help me with? And now I'm like, oh, I see. I'm able to, I can be a one-man shop. I don't have to be, but I know how the ins and outs of running the business and everything that's required. And I think it's nice learning those skills. So I always feel like wherever you're at in life, never see it as an accident, but like just take in whatever position or moment or space you're in, because it will help. There's no accidents in life. I really don't feel like there are coincidences in life. So you have to take the lesson and like move forward with it.
I saw something related to this, probably on TikTok, because I'm chronically online.
Same.
But I saw this, I think it was a video where somebody was talking about taking skills rather than jobs. So if you view the work that you do as an accumulation of different skill sets rather than separate jobs, then you can start to apply the different skill sets across various industries, which I just found a really fascinating way to think about it. That way you're not thinking like, oh, I'm a fashion designer, but I'm moving into tech, but I have no tech skills. You're thinking, okay, what are maybe I learned something about production that I need to implement, or I learned something about pattern making that is going to help me in thinking about how to work in different tech. I think that's an interesting way that to frame it. And you've spoken about writing and digital content, and as your community lives primarily as an online space, that's something really valuable.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been so helpful. Like I feel like I can do anything with the business online from previous learnings and the positions that I've been in.
But talk to me a little bit about your own wellness journey.
Whew, guys, that's so hectic. So I've always been into holistic living, holistic lifestyle. I was born and raised like half of my life in Zim, and my family has just always produced their own food, and we've always had like livestock around. So for me, it really has been a way of living and life. I don't know anything different, so even when we moved here and like settled in, I always just was connected to that. So even just in my daily practices in life, I've always gravitated towards that. But then the most interesting shift, I guess, that led to this point is in the spiritual journey. And that has been a roller coaster on its own. But I've always felt spiritually inclined, but I had no idea what that looked like. If growing up in Zim, and there's like a really staunch Christian belief system in that, and it doesn't really allow for any other type of spiritual things to be questioned or to be allowed in, well, at least with my family. So there was never room for anything outside of that. But I've always felt like, okay, what is this that I feel within me? And when we moved here, and many years later, a couple years actually ago, I met someone that kind of just really was like, oh, like there's this about you. And I was like, oh my gosh, tell me more. And I really opened up Pandora's box, because it really got me to connecting with myself and my spiritual journey. And it's been a blessing. It's been the biggest blessing, because I've always sought my why and my purpose. And I think when I've embarked on that journey, as difficult as it's been, I feel like it's saved my life in so many ways, because I found my why. And that yearning of what my purpose and like what I'm meant to be doing here has kind of been solved for me, So yeah, my spiritual journey is intense. It's constantly ongoing. When you're connecting with your ancestors, anyone that knows, you've opened up a Pandora's box, So yeah, I'm grateful for it. I feel very powerful within the connecting of my lineage as well, and what that's been coming with.
And I think you've been very intentional with Nuru, like the way that you've positioned it as African holistic wellness.
Yes.
What does that mean to you in the kinds of work that you do?
For me, it is really tapping into all of the teachings that all our various ancestors have given us. Again, as I said, all the modalities that I reach into, it's nothing new, but it's really unearthing that and interpreting it for myself. I think sometimes when people see or think of a healer, it's a certain image and a certain type. And I think people then don't engage or feel uncomfortable to engage. So for me, it's been like, okay, how do I interpret it for myself, and how do I still honor the teachings and the wisdom? Because it's rich knowledge and wisdoms, from the herbs to this, but how can I draw more people in, and then, God and their ancestors kind of do the rest of the work, Like I always say that a healer doesn't heal you, they just kind of shine a light for you to kind of like sit in yourself, and God and your ancestors come through to you, and the job is done for me in that sense. So yeah, that's kind of what that means to me.
I'm
Yeah.
smiling because I feel so calm talking to Tiffany. I don't know if you all feel it too, but I'm like, I am so calm. I think you have such a calming energy and presence, and I think that, especially what you were saying around the well-being journey being ongoing
Yeah.
is something that's so important. I think we've all
Yeah.
experienced that moment where you feel like, okay, I'm within my well-being,
Yeah.
pathway now, and then you veer off it, and then you're like, oh gosh, I have to go back to, this idea of being well. I think, whether it's like work or society or there's so many hindrances to being well.
Yeah, so many.
That idea, to go back to what you were talking about, even in positioning of return to well-being, I think is something that we're constantly.
Like I think for as long as we're alive, the journey is ongoing. I think just as anyone has whatever religious beliefs, you don't go to church once and then be like, I'm done. You don't pray once and you're like, I'm done. You don't go to the gym once and you say, I'm done. It's a constant journey. But I think the consistency is so key, and I think it's the cliche of it, but it's so true. When you fall off or you get off track, as one naturally does, you just go back to those small things that reground you and recenter you. And I think that's the beauty of bringing in spirituality and spiritual things into your overall wellness. I think that's like the missing link to the puzzle in terms of holistic well-being. For me, as I said, we know how to eat well, how to exercise, but how's our spiritual health? Like, how are you really? Your soul is screaming at you, and you have no idea, that this is happening.
I think that question of how are you really, have you ever had that experience when somebody says, how are you?
It's like, how much time do you have?
But they mean it. And I'm always like, ooh.
Like,
okay.
no. Yeah, no.
And beyond the typical, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. That moment just to sit and be like, okay, how am I, is exceptionally important.
Yes.
But with the work that you do, you've spoken about sound baths as being something important.
Yes.
If someone's out here and they want to explore what Nuru House presents, or what the services you offer, the spaces to connect, what is that suite of offerings?
So we have the sound baths that a lot of our community has become popular with, and then we also do the retreats. I also do one-on-one sessions with clients outside of that, and I'm constantly looking to collaborate with people. I mean, I have a beautiful collaboration currently with Wholesome Sundays. Masejo, she's a chef. We do the yoga and brunch, which is just so beautiful. I love how intentional she is as well with her brand and how it ties in so seamlessly with what we're doing. And just recently, I think 2 weeks ago, I did another partnership with Lesejo from Epic Hikes, where I love what he does as well. Like he has, he calls them contemplative walks. So we did that and then tied in the sound bath with that. And it's just beautiful. I just love how so many people are stepping into the space and are showing and presenting it in a way that is unique to them, because I think everyone can be like, oh, this doesn't really work for me, and it's beautiful that now someone else can create something else that resonates. It's about finding what works for you, and that's the job being done. That's us living in alignment and within our purpose, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn to all of you and ask if you have a question or two. Probably can only take one or two. Guys, why is everybody so shy? I feel like those questions are burning within you.
I'm also shy.
Okay. Can we get a mic? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My question is, how did you find soundbath to be your thing? Did you explore and experiment with other mediums, or is it something that just came to you and found you?
It's gonna sound so boring, this answer. Oh my gosh, but it's genuinely true. I kid you not, I dreamt about it. It sounds weird, I know, but I really did. And I think the reason why it ended up being revealed to me in that way was because I was in a space of seeking. I was in a space of trying to understand. Once I realized, like, okay, cool, God and my ancestors want me to walk on this path. What does that look like? You know, how can I show up? And it stressed me for, I think, like a good year and a half before I really dived into it. And it took a lot of fasting, it took a lot of praying, it took a lot of isolating, being with myself, sitting and seeking. And then that came to me. And yeah, I'm grateful it did. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I was terrified the first time I did it because I was like, people are going to be like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? You know, someone once was like, oh, do I need to bring a costume? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, there's so many, it's a territory unknown. But I think the beauty of it and what I also encourage is like, come curious to it. Just come with an open mind and open heart. And if it's not for you, cool, you've tried something, you didn't lose like crazy amounts of money trying it. And now you know it's not for you. But yeah, that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Well, I'd like you all to join me in giving a round of applause to Tiffany.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I'm going to give you a 15-minute break before we're joined by Zoe Modiga.
Yay.